name is Miguel Myers. Welcome to My Horror Confessional, where every week I will have a guest come on and talk about one classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why. We'll discuss the movie, the actors, and probably get off topic quite a bit. Once I believe that they have properly atoned, I will absolve them of their horror movie sin. Today, we have my good friend and neighbor, Tim. Tim has an encyclopedic knowledge of punk and hip-hop music, and we bonded over our mutual love of horror movies. We've had many conversations standing outside our respective homes while our wives are waiting for us to come inside. We used to go almost every week to Terror Tuesdays at the Draft House, pre-pandemic, and we're really hoping that they come back afterwards. You may think you have the best neighbors, but in fact I do. Tim, along with his wife and son, are a true delight to have around. Tim, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So Tim, what is your history with horror? Obviously you like it. Did you grow up with it? Did you grow into it as a teenager?
As a kid, we had cable, which we were lucky about, so I would watch usually like little kind of monster movies. Like I loved Gremlins, still love it. It's like one of the things that made me love horror movies.
Okay.
Watch Critters a lot, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, a lot of stuff like that, like in elementary school age. Critters 2 would just watch over and over and over. And as I got a little older, I'd catch, slasher stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and things like that. And that kind of got me into it more as I was a teenager. But I still always kind of go back to Gremlins and stuff like that, like pretty much every year,
And did it also go into like horror literature or horror music? Or soundtracks?
Yeah, maybe like a little bit. I found this thing, like I was visiting my parents a couple of years ago, and this was from when I was probably in second grade. I was in couldn't have been second grade. I don't know, elementary school. I was in like the advanced program,
Wow.
Nice flex.
First you dropped the flex that y'all had cable.
Yeah.
Then you dropped that you were in an advanced class. Okay, go ahead.
But there was like some magazine that they made for this. They called it Enterprise. I was never like a Star Trek guy, but that was the name of it, and they had this magazine related to this program, and I found some story I had written about like a vicious dog that was like killing people. But it seems like that was before I even would watch a lot, like before I'd even be allowed to watch a lot of horror stuff. You know what I mean?
So what you're telling me is that Stephen King ripped off Cujo from
I'd probably heard of that, but definitely hadn't seen it or read it at that point. But yeah, I would read a little bit, not a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And music, like soundtracks, I would know some of that stuff, but not a ton. When I was in high school, I got big into Gravediggers, the rap group, and it was like, I graduated high school 22 years ago. My brother texted me the other day about Gravediggers. Still, like, that stuff's pretty funny. I was like, no, it's great. And I sort of listened to punk stuff, so some of those bands were...
I was setting you up for the ICP phase, but
yeah.
You're totally trying to bypass that.
That was high school. That was like whatever year, maybe like 1997 or something. Whenever Chicken Hunting came out, I was like a little, again, not a flex, but I was a little ahead of the curve on ICP. So I heard them and I was like, man, this is so funny. These guys are just, talking about cutting people's heads off or something. And I was very into it for like 3-4 years, and I just didn't think it was funny anymore. And I was like, you listen to better hip-hop, you know what I mean? I don't know if I ever showed you, I do have a picture of one year for Halloween. Me and a buddy of mine got dressed up as ICP.
As a Juggalo?
Yeah, no, but I mean like...
Oh, as the...
Like as Shaggy 2 Dope and Violent J.
Okay, which one were you?
I think I was Shaggy 2 Dope.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'm sure I have a picture at the house, but so I go to school. It's Halloween, so it's like people are dressed up, and my buddy Will and I go to school dressed as ICP, and I was a senior, and they're like, all right, we're going out to the bleachers to take a picture of the senior class. So it's like a small school. There's like 100 kids in the graduating class. It's like 98 of them are just dressed in like fucking football jerseys and stuff. And me and Will are dressed like ICP. So I'll find it. I'll show you,
And we'll post it to our Instagram.
Yeah, that'll be the cover.
So Tim is on to confess his horror sin that he has never watched Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And why do you think that this particular movie passed you by?
I heard about it years ago, and I've heard people speak very highly about it, like high praise about it. And I think for a long time it was just like, yeah, this is going to be too real. This is going to be too real. This is going to fuck with my head if I watch this movie. That was a long time ago. Because like I said, I always grew up watching things that are fun, horror movies, you know what I mean? It just never seemed like that to me. And I just never got around to it. I always heard it was good, but like I said, I put it off for a long time, and then eventually, there's always something to watch. So I think
as time progresses, you keep adding more movies to it.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe it started off at the top of your list, but it kept getting brought down.
Yeah, so there's certain things that it's just like, how have I never seen that? You know what I mean? Even since I was a kid, and certain things I could figure out why. This one, I think, like I said, it's just kind of got a little freaked when I was younger. I know I read years ago in a magazine about the guy who it's based on, and I was like, oh, it's kind of freaky for me. I've never been like a true crime guy too much, so I think that's kind of why I avoided it. And then, like I said, it just started. The list always piles up, so it's like, I could see something else. Why not?
It's funny that you say that because we saw this movie together, and then afterwards we saw some of the special features. But there was one that was a making of, which was feature length. It was an hour, and I watched that today. There was a documentary. It was like 36 minutes long, true crime, on the murderers at this or the serial killers that this movie was based on. Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. In the movie, it's Otis Toole, but the actual person's name is Otis Toole. And I know that you said you were not a true crime person. I'm not too much of a true crime person as well. I listen to a pretty popular true crime podcast, but My Favorite Murder. But I just enjoy the female leads. Yeah. I think they're hilarious. But that's the only true crime thing I listen to. So watching this documentary they had on the disc was kind of off-putting and unsettling.
Yeah, for sure.
So I could understand not wanting to see it. I've seen Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer before, probably a decade ago or so, but I had the same reticence to watch it because I was like, I don't want to watch shit.
And it's just like it sounds like cliche where it's like, well, this could really happen, or this really did happen, but sometimes it's just like, oh man, this is too bleak, you know what I mean?
I think there's this misconception of people who like horror films that because you like horror films, you're going to like everything terrifying or horrifying and like bloody, like real life bloody stuff. And that's not the case, at least for me, and I think for you as well. Like if I see real like blood in real life, I get a little bit squeamish, I just don't like that shit. But I can see it in movie form. Because it doesn't, it's fake. It's all cameras and Hollywood and glitter and glamour sort of thing. So, all right.
Well, my wife, Brittany, so yeah, she thinks I'm like a freak who's just like gonna enjoy, like you said, seeing some horrific stuff, which isn't really the case.
But to be fair, you did watch Faces of Death growing up, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw my friend Mike. Yeah.
Shout out to Mike.
Shout out to Mike. He the first person I ever saw before I saw Evil Dead. I saw Army of Darkness at his house, and his sister worked at the video store, and he was like, "Check out this movie." My sister got it. I think I saw Faces of Death at his house, but I definitely saw Army of Darkness at his house, and we had a Spanish class together, and there's a scene in Army of Darkness where Bruce Campbell hits the witch in the face with a chamber pot, and she's on the floor, looks like she's passed out, and her eyes open up and she hisses. And I remember I was taking an oral exam in Spanish in like 9th grade or whatever, and he sat in front of me and he had his head down on his desk, eyes closed, and just opened up his eyes and hissed like that. And I was like, he made me cry laughing multiple times in high school. But yeah, so I think I saw Faces of Death at his house.
Okay.
But even then, I think I remember feeling like, yeah, this is probably fake,
Yeah.
But that is some sick stuff. You're right.
But like we didn't. that was more a product of the time, and I didn't seek it out, but I did see like Cannibal Holocaust and that sort of shit. But generally speaking, most horror fans that I know don't really seek that stuff out.
Yeah.
All right, so Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, directed by John McNaughton, who went on to do Wild Things, which was kind of crazy. Also written by John McNaughton and Richard Fire, starring Michael Rooker in his first starring role, who you know from Guardians of the Galaxy and The Walking Dead. He's Henry in the titular role. There's also Tom Towles, right? Tom Towles.
Towles, something like that.
Tom Towles as Otis, who you might also know him as Red Ryder from Blood In, Blood Out. And he was also in House of the Thousand Corpses. And Tracy Arnold as Becky. She didn't really go on to do very much after this movie, so I don't think you would, unless you're really into Tracy Arnold, then I don't think you're going to know anything else.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it looks like she almost exclusively did other things with this director.
Yeah, I think what happened was like he just, without telling me, he was the only one giving her jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading earlier, just reading about the movie, and apparently a lot of the cast, other than the main three, it was like his friend's dad played, this guy who he killed. This other person played someone else who got killed. It's all people related to the crew and stuff.
Yeah, they only had like $110,000 budget, and so they didn't really have extras. They just had friends and family, and they got the two actors, Tom Towles and Tracy Arnold, from a theater in Chicago called the Organic Theater.
Is that still there? Do you know?
I've never heard of it, but then again, I wasn't big into the Chicago theater scene. All right, so starting to talk about this movie, it starts off with a really great kind of creepy score. Then we'll see we see like a couple tableaus of like women in various women that Henry, who we'll find out, Henry, our main character, has killed. This particular tableau is of a woman's face. It pulls out to reveal she's been murdered, and she's naked. And then we have this kind of, I don't know, call it a score or a drop,
sound design,
something that we get throughout the movie every time they show one of these tableaus of when a woman is killed or a person is killed. Then there's a jump cut to a diner, and it's a cigarette being put out on a plate and a man paying the bill, and that man buys a pack of Cools, right? Then we understand that this is now our main character, Henry, so I could just be referring to him as Henry. And then so Henry says to the waitress, "It's a real nice smile you got there," and she says, "Thank you." And I'm like, we already know that this guy's an asshole, like shut the
creep.
fuck up.
Yeah.
He's a creep. He walks to his car, and then we see another tableau, and we hear what happened, but we don't see what happened. We only see that the woman is already dead. Actually, it's two people. It's a man and a woman at a liquor store, and then it's real cool design. It's kind of like, except for one scene that's coming up here and another scene towards the end, I think we said that this movie could have been a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't overly violent, besides for one or two scenes.
It was like implied not that it was implied, but yeah, you don't actually see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the what John Carpenter wanted to do in Halloween is he wanted to, like you said, imply the terror instead of showing you the terror. And the thing that you make up in your mind is more horrible than anything that they can show you most of the time. So I like that we'll hear them. We'll hear what happened during the death, but we don't see it, and they follow that throughout the movie. And I don't think it's kind of unique to this movie. Do you recall having seen this done in another movie that you've seen?
I don't know. I mean, I know I've seen movies where they just don't show the violence, but that audio component of it, I don't know if I've seen before.
Yeah, it's kind of a unique thing that I really enjoyed.
And for me, it was like I said, I kind of in my mind, like you just said, what you think of could be more horrific than what you actually see.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's kind of what I built up about this movie, that it's going to be real over the top. And I mean, it gets there eventually, but when they were showing those parts in the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, I can handle this. This is no problem, But
you
they
came
worked
out
their
from
way
behind your
from behind my hands. Yeah.
Then we see that Henry's driving through 1980 Chicago, which I love. I'm from Chicago and I was born 82, so like this is my childhood that he's driving through, which is awesome and also kind of creepy.
Yeah, right.
What makes me feel better is he's definitely the South Side Chicago, so I don't see any monuments or anything that looked particularly. I didn't recognize anything off the bat other than street names and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not like Soldiers Field or something.
Yeah. Well, look at you, Soldiers Field. And then we see another tableau. We're in a seedy hotel, and this is the bloodiest thing I think in the whole movie. We see the bloody bed, and then the phone's ringing, and then we're hearing the audio cues again, just the audio, and it's saying like "Oh baby" is being whispered, and then the camera pans to the right. We see a woman's legs, and the camera keeps spanning upwards, and we see her body. She's naked on the toilet. Her lingerie has been ripped off, and she has been tied to the sink, and we got a broken bottle crammed into her face with the mouth end facing up. It's actually really terrible. Like, it's a ghastly scene. There's not a lot of special effects in this movie, but this one was really great.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
This kind of... I agree. Like, that was probably one of the most gruesome things in the movie. Kind of reminded me of Maniac. And it was like the woman almost looked like a mannequin.
Yeah.
But it made me feel like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Maniac, and also in the way, like, I'm going to have to shower when I go home after watching it, which is normally how I feel if I watch Maniac.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah, it looked...
it looked really
kind
good.
of real, yeah. It was like an effective makeup job, or whatever you'd say.
And this dead woman was played by Mary DeMoss, and she actually played, I think, 3 or 4 other dead women in the movie.
I read that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like she has a niche. So that was kind of cool. And then the whole time we're still hearing the sounds of what happened there. We don't see what happened, but we hear what happened. And then we hear Henry saying, like, or yelling, or somebody, we assume Henry, saying, like, die, bitch. You know?
Yeah, that's probably him.
Yeah. This is a very masochistic movie, a lot of violence towards women.
Yeah.
I mean, that is based on true events, so you can't kind of get away from it. Then we see him back in his car. He's driving down the highway, smoking a cigarette. Smoking another cool. And we see another tableau of a woman floating head down in the river, and we hear the music, that musical sting, and we hear again her struggling sounds. This is really effective because you see the aftermath of what happened and you hear what happened, but you don't see what happened, and it's this weird. You get this weird feeling of not having seen it, and you're like, this feels like a documentary or something, and you get the creeps. Like, it was creeping me out.
Yeah, very much.
It was used very effectively. Next, he pulls up to a mall and he starts scoping out the scene for women. He sees a woman putting bags in her car, and we think that he's going to go after her, but then another woman walks up with her, and he changes his mind. He's a coward, right? He needs to have the woman by herself. He glances around until he sees another woman by herself. She pulls out of her spot, and he follows her, and then this great score, this creepy music starts here. I know this was shot in Chicago, or the suburbs of Chicago, and Halloween was shot in California, Pasadena, but this suburb looked a lot like the suburb from Halloween, which is exactly what John Carpenter was trying to do. Because
like a Midwestern.
Yeah, because Haddonfield is in Illinois.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, so I just thought that, like, it just goes to show you that how great, like, the scenes or the suburb that they picked in Halloween was, because we are in a suburb of Chicago, and I'm thinking, wow, this looks like Halloween.
Right.
Maybe Halloween, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween's a great movie. I don't know if you know.
I was gonna say you're gonna work it in there.
Yeah. But it's, I was born in Chicago. I was born and raised there until about 12 years old. Then we moved out to the suburbs. And then you always hear about people feeling safe and comfortable in the suburbs, right? The suburban life. Then when you bring the horror to the suburbs, there's something there that's really scary. And that's what it felt like in here. Like he's following this woman and she's living in this quote unquote safe suburban community, and she's not so safe. So he follows her to her house, and we as an audience are worried for her, but when she pulls up to her house, a man, presumably her husband, comes out to greet her, at which point Henry leaves. But it does come back, which is kind of awesome. Next, we see him picking up a female hitchhiker with a guitar case, and they drive off. We don't see what happens there, and she doesn't actually come back, but the guitar case
does. Yeah.
So next we're in the Midway Airport, and we meet Becky. She's smoking a cigarette, looking like she was just in a fight. A man approached her, and she says, "Good to see you, Otis," and he responds in kind. So as soon as we're introduced to Otis, I'm like, this guy's a douchebag. What did you think when you first saw Otis?
When I first saw him, I was like, this guy is he's a creep,
He's a creep,
Yeah. That first scene with him, it's like, he was creepy. I thought he was kind of funny, just like in a ball buster way.
Yeah.
Where she was talking about, I think his name is Leroy.
Her husband, Leroy.
Her husband.
Yeah.
And he brings it up a couple times, and she says, I said I don't want to talk about Leroy. And he's like, all right, we won't. You hungry? She says, yes. And he says, good, me too. Yeah, I wonder if Leroy's hungry. And just starts laughing. And it's like, oh, he's a dick. But there was like a little humor there.
Yeah. And then when he laughs, you can see his teeth. And his teeth are all fucked up. They're discolored and they're crooked. That was actually a piece that he had designed specifically for the movie. So that kind of like, he said that he was having trouble connecting with the character because that's not who he is, obviously.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah. But then he had this piece made for him, this fake teeth piece, and he said it just built the character. He was able to build the character around that.
Yeah, I read that, I guess to get in character, Michael Rooker really stayed just in that Henry mind state at all times while they were filming it, so for like a month, and that he would drive in to shoot with a crew member, and she would think, if I'm talking now, am I talking to Michael or am I talking to Henry, which has got to be uncomfortable. And I read that his wife found out she was pregnant during the shooting and waited till they were done to let him know. Like, she's like, I don't want to let Henry know. I want to let Michael know that we're going to have a child. So I guess they had to get in the mindset,
That method acting.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Rooker is kind of a one of a kind character. Like as a real person, his characters from movie to movie don't really change that much. He's got this intensity. Like, he's the same person in The Walking Dead as he is in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, maybe he's obviously a little bit nicer in the end, but like, there's like this intense character that's can be off-putting a bit,
Yeah, it's funny though. It's just like, oh, this guy plays this grisly murderer. I mean, and he's like a bad dude.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, that's Yondu. I think it's Yondu.
Yeah, that's Yondu.
He's the guy who whistles and an arrow flies at someone.
He says he's Mary Poppins, y'all. So essentially, Otis is picking his sister Becky up from Midway Airport because she has left her abusive husband, and she's also left her child there with her mother. So she's left the state, and she's going to live with Otis for a bit. So Otis picks her up, takes her to his apartment. The next scene, Otis is reading the paper. He's got a tradition. They're living in a traditional, old school Chicago flat. I don't know if they had these in New York, where you lived, but in Chicago, like this looked like the house that I grew up in.
Okay.
It was a 3 flat. One family would live on each floor.
Okay.
And this looked like the top flat that my we were renting to my uncle or my aunt and uncle, and it was like one small kitchen, and like it was just so creepy. Like
You feel like you could have been like, I could have been there.
Yeah.
I could have been a 3-year-old.
Especially like because they're drinking Old Style, which is a Chicago beer, and so I just really love the aesthetic of this movie. What happens in it is terrifying and horrifying, but the aesthetic itself and the music and the acting is amazing. Oh, also, so they're talking there at a table, but in the foreground, just slightly out of focus, it looks like White Castle empty cartons. Have you ever had
White Castle in Chicago?
Yeah, they have White Castle.
I didn't know that.
I fucking love White Castle.
Yeah, like I used to. So the town I grew up in, there was a train station, like the Long Island Railroad. So you could either go towards the beach or you can go towards the city. The town over from me, there was another train station, but there were different lines there. So it's like if I was trying to go, I didn't have a license for a long time. I was like a juggalo in high school. I rode a bike. I took
they didn't want to
train.
let you take your license picture with the juggalo thing.
Yeah, and I was a deal breaker. So I either rode my bike, bummed rides off of people, walked, or took the train. Like if I was going to try to go to the city, take the train, you know. But Limbrook, the town over, it was like they had the White Castle was right near the station. So sometimes it would be like I need to catch this. I'm like running to the train station so I can get in time to get a little White Castle first. And I was saying my parents moved in I think 2003. They moved out of New York to South Carolina and then North Carolina. But that would be the thing for a while. It was like if they were coming back to visit, my dad was like, no, I'm stopping at White Castle. I need to get some sliders, you know. And I heard they have like a vegan one now, an Impossible one.
All right, man. If you want to try that out, go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while. I guess people say Crystal is the same thing. They just call it. It's basically White Castle, but they call it Crystal in other regions.
Oh, is there Crystals in Texas?
I don't know. I've never had it.
White Castle is kind of like a legit thing in Chicago, and I didn't realize it. Like I used to get, I fucked with the sliders a little bit, but they should slide out of your system so quickly.
You wouldn't get a Crave case?
No.
You wouldn't be walking out with a briefcase of mini burgers?
I think we got that once for a party, and it was the most disgusting thing, you know. But I would fuck with the chicken ring sandwiches. That was a shit.
Oh, see, they didn't even have them sandwiches in New York.
Really?
It would be like, you can get fries, you can get onion rings, or you can get chicken rings. It would just be like one of those little greasy boxes.
Yeah.
With some of them in there. They were good.
All it was is the chicken ring on the bread, you know,
Yeah.
but it was portable.
But I always like the, I'm sure anyone listening would be thrilled to hear, I love the onions on there, you know.
on the sliders?
Yeah. But they put the holes in them too.
Yeah. The also the mozzarella sticks were fucking good as hell. And this is how deep this shit goes in Chicago. My wife Hillary's grandfather and grandmother, like they used to love go to White Castle together. Then when her grandfather passed away, her grandmother, or her busha in Polish, she lived for like another 20 years or whatever. But whenever they would go visit her husband, Hillary's grandfather, at the cemetery, they would stop off and get White Castle because it was his favorite meal, and then they would go and eat it at his grave.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, man, White Castle is a big deal.
But yeah, that's big. There are a lot of them in New York, and that's why the Beastie Boys had a song where they said White Castle fries only come in one size.
Really?
And Cool G Rap had a song where he said, I put holes in my beef like fucking White Castle burgers, which I love. It's so awesome.
I never even knew that one. Cool G Rap. Wow. Welcome to Washed FM, everybody. So sorry about a White Castle delay here. But so then he asks her what she's going to do for work, and she says either waitressing or do hair. He said...
I was going to say... Him talking to his sister asked her if she could do anything other than
dance naked. Yeah. And she cracks a joke, and he says, "You're a card." And she says, "Yeah, queen." And he says, "Yeah, queen of clubs." And then he does a little shoulder shimmy.
Yeah, like
and
shakes his chest around.
and he shows the terribly the crooked teeth. And then she says, "Don't make me sorry I came here, Otis," which is foreshadowing because she will, in fact, be sorry. This is also foreshadowing of like how he treats his sister and how he looks at her. It's really fucking weird and incesty, and I just don't like that. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, it's creepy, like very, very creepy, but almost seem like a little like they're playing with each other. But it's just like that doesn't seem like a normal sibling. You know, I only have brothers, but it's like that's not a normal sibling relationship.
Yeah,
and it goes a lot further, obviously.
And we come to find out later that she has experienced this from other members in her family. So, whereas if this was the first time he said something like that, or some of the things later on that he does, if it was the first time he did that, she'd probably go off on him. But the way she reacts leads me to believe that this isn't the first time that she's had to put up with this sort of shit from him.
That might just be her defense mechanism to play it off like a joke. And yeah.
Which sucks for her.
Yeah.
Then this is when we hear Henry walking in, and he walks in with the guitar he walks in with the guitar case, and he says he just picked it up. So this leads me to feel like, what other things around the house did he just pick up, you know? And there's another case, or there's something else that happens later on in the movie where you're like, he probably took that from somebody else, and I'll bring it up then.
I kind of I was really worrying about him. Like, hey, bro. No, I wondered that watching it because there's not too many scenes that show him like holding a job or anything.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, is that how he's getting everything, or is that how he's living, basically?
So there's an awkward pause until finally Otis introduces Henry to Becky. Henry he's got, at this point, Michael Rooker or Henry, his face is like very skinny, like severe. He's a handsome man, but like I said, he's really intense. And I think like Becky takes to him right away. Like she looks at him, the way she looks at him from the jump is like she's infatuated with him or something, you know?
Yeah.
So they make her sleeping arrangements. Henry is on the way out to go to work. Next, we see Henry, he's spraying insecticide in an apartment unit. And then his boss pays him and tells him to keep the spray until next week, which is a bad idea.
I kind of wondered if that was real. Like if in real life you ever worked as an exterminator, or that was just like, this guy exterminates people. Let's make him...
Like in real life, if Henry Lee
Lucas ever did, yeah.
I know he did like carpentry and he did like odd jobs and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's specifically ever said.
The quick aside, Mike, who I saw Army of Darkness at his house,
mm-hmm.
probably the last time I saw him, I don't know, probably, it was like almost 20 years ago, but I was working as a garbage man. I'm walking home. It was close. I probably still didn't have a license.
It's garbage day.
It was close enough where I could walk home to my parents' house, and he drove by, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, man? What are you up to?" And he was working as an exterminator. So I was like, "He's like, yeah, I just did, Danny's house." I was like, "How's Danny?" He's like, "Roach free for the rest of the summer." So he was a funny dude.
Mike's a funny motherfucker.
Yeah.
So next we see a father and son playing catch with football, and in the background, Henry's walking up the steps to the woman's house from earlier, the one that he followed from the mall. So we thought she got away, but she actually didn't. He rings her doorbell. She opens the door, and we can't hear what he's saying, but he's kind of gesturing to the insecticide, and he convinces her to let him in. What do you think he said? Like, he's obviously he's charming.
Yeah, and he's soft-spoken. I don't know. It almost seemed like the kind of thing like, oh, like, did your husband tell you? I scheduled this. But her body language, she almost looks like she doesn't believe him at first.
Yeah.
It wasn't like super quick that he got in there. It almost was like, well, hey, he called me. I drove all the way here, kind of type of thing to badger her into letting him in.
Yeah. Which sucks because like if she just like stuck with her gut and just said no, but she didn't. So The scene fades to black. The next scene, we kind of see cartoons on a TV in the back of a woman's head. As the camera pans to her left side, slowly we see that her eyes are open. That's something that I noticed also, I believe, in all of the tableaus we've seen of the murdered women and the one man. Their eyes are always open, which is weird because you always, like in movies, you see their eyes closed. So I'm like, don't do that. Don't have their eyes open. I don't like it. So slowly we see that her eyes are open and we start to hear that music again. So we know something's bad is happening. And we see that she's been strangled. And then again, we hear the audio of what must have happened there. And then we see cigarette burns on her chest and face. So I think this points to something that happens later on when Henry's talking to Otis and he says, you always have to change your MO. Change the way you kill them, because they can't ever pinpoint it to you. So far we've seen like people shot to death. We've seen people
killed with a beer bottle,
or
whatever.
Yeah, she was strangled. What was the first woman? Was she stabbed to death or?
I don't know if they showed that. I think they just showed that she was like bloody in some water.
But you do see like a sort of a slash.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So each death so far has been a different way to die. So he is true to his word,
Yeah, that's his way to feel like he won't ever get caught.
Right. I guess his MO is that he changes up his MO all the time.
Yeah.
So next we see Otis at his job at a gas station. Otis is like a buffoon. Like he's funny to laugh at, but he's dangerous also. Right. And so you can never be too comfortable around him. But the shit that he does is so fucking funny. So he's looking under an older woman's car. It's this Cadillac, which I love seeing these old Cadillacs. And so he opens the hood, looks for a second or two, closes it, and says, it's good. And then the old lady says, can you please check the left rear tire? And he's like, okay. He takes the instrument out and barely touches it to the tire. And he's like, it's good. And it's like, dude, you didn't even look at it.
Yeah, that I thought was, again, like if you saw that in a different movie, it would be like probably even funnier. But in this, when you think about it after the fact, everything he does, you're like, oh, it's not funny. But yeah, I don't even think he took out like a tire pressure gauge.
No,
I think it was just a pen, and he like tapped it against the tire. It was bizarre. But it's like a senior citizen basically, and she's just like, thanks, tips him.
And then he like barely acknowledges it.
I think he's like, or something. Yeah.
But the director said that he didn't mean it lightly, but he said that if you see this movie like 5 or 6 times after a certain time, you start to see it as a comedy. So it's kind of a warped way to look at it, but there are definitely some parts of this movie that are at least cringy, but definitely like laugh out loud funny. Some parts, especially with this character because he's so dumb. And even some of the scenes there were some deleted scenes that they had to cut because they're like, this is over the top comical right now.
Right, it just doesn't fit the tone.
It just doesn't fit the tone. But yeah, so then he walks to another car and he sees like it's a teenager, and the teenager is basically trying to buy weed from him, right? But he also just doesn't want to be associated with him. So the guy, he takes his money. He's like, I'll bring the money to the school tomorrow. And the guy's like, don't come to the school. I don't want you by the school. So he's like, all right, fine. Here's your money back. And the kid's like, all right, I need my weed. Yeah,
but right, he's just like an unsavory character. The kid probably just like, I want to get this over with and get the hell out of here.
I remember like there's always that drug dealer who wants to be your friend. And so you just go to his house. It's like in the movie Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
Like they want to be your friend. You're like, dude, I just came here to buy the thing and leave.
It's like cost of doing business. Like, I guess I have to hang out with
this
because
guy. If you're rude to them or if you're a dick to them, they won't sell to you, Maybe they will, who knows. But so there's this one guy that we used to get Coke from, and he was also offering, so you buy your shit and then he would offer you other shit. So you're like, all right, well, I just bought this 8-ball, but he's going to give me some lines, so I'll do the lines with you. And so doing a couple lines leads to fucking drinking and leads to like a party. And then you're there for like 6 fucking hours. You're like, fuck, I just came here to buy this 8-ball.
Okay, so it'd be at his place.
Yeah, it'd be at his place. Yeah, you'd have to go to his house to pick it up. They wouldn't have delivery back then. What's Dave Chappelle? What's that called in the movie?
Samson?
Yeah, Samson. But Mr. Nice Guy is that
Mr.
what
Nice
they call him?
Guy, yeah.
Yeah, they would come to your house. We didn't have a Mr. Nice Guy who would come to the house. So anyway, the first time I saw a House of a Thousand Corpses was at my dealer's house when I didn't want to be there.
Okay, so there were, this sounds made up. Again, this is something I could find a picture, but in my town, there were these guys who sold, they would say, at this point, I wasn't buying it, but they said they sold shirts. That they would assume their phone was tapped, so people would be like, "Can I come over and buy like $20 worth of shirts?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, they were twin brothers.
Cain and Abel, no limit, right?
I don't want to say their name, but I don't know their real name. So basically, they were twin little people who wrote graffiti. So I only knew their tags.
Tags, yeah.
One of them looked so much like Gary Sinise from Forrest Gump, but he'd be wearing like a leather vest with no shirt under it.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up at their house at one point just because friends of mine were. My brother and his friends would hang out with them, but I was over there just with some friends for some reason. It was a wild scene. Yeah, so it just made me think of ending up somewhere where you're like, I don't want to spend the time here, but there's a reason to go there and try to get out.
And this teenager had better insight than we.
Yeah, instincts. Yeah, like I don't want to be around this guy.
Yeah. So next we see Becky. She's cleaning a fish for dinner, and she asks Otis where he met Henry, and he tells him. He tells her that he met Henry in Vandalia, which is a prison. And he was in for murdering his mom, which is actually true to life of Henry Lee Lucas. Yeah. He was in for murdering his mom as well.
Right. What I was thinking when we were talking about it was I read this magazine years ago that had this article. Again, I know I said before I'm not like a true crime guy or anything, but this magazine had this article, and it was like 100 serial killers or mass murderers or whatever. And it would give you like a picture, and it would give you, it would tell about them, and it was morbid. It was like tell about them, give their death count, give like, there was like a little symbols that would be like, if they kill, if they use a knife, it'd be like a little knife and all this thing.
Yeah.
But it talked about how his mother had, which you talked about in the movie, how had treated him, just real horrible childhood.
Yeah.
And eventually killed his mom.
And that's actually why like this movie was made in 85, but it wasn't theatrically released until like 89 or 90. And part of it was due to the MPAA rating. They were going to be given X, which they didn't want, so they went unrated. But then MPAA created the NC-17 rating for them as well. So part of it was that, but also part of it was because distributors didn't want to get sued, because they used the real life names of the serial killers, Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole and Becky. I don't remember her full name here, but Becky. So they used real names, and people thought that if they released it, they'd get sued for it. So that's why it took so long to be released.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking earlier. It said that NC-17 was created to be like, it's adult, but it's not a porno movie. Mm-hmm. And it was like this, and two other movies. It said The Thief, the Wife, the Cook, and his Lover, or whatever, that movie, and then one other one.
An Almodovar movie, but I don't remember the name of.
What was it?
Pedro Almodovar.
Oh yeah, it was.
I don't remember what movie it was though.
Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down.
Probably something
Maybe,
like that. Yeah,
something like that.
So he tells her that he was in for murdering his mom, but he says, don't ever tell him that I told you. He says that he did it with a baseball bat. And then Otis goes on to repeat it 2 more times. Do not tell Henry that I told you. Then Henry comes home and they eat the fish dinner. Afterwards, Otis rolls up a blunt with his stinky fish hands. And he leaves without washing them, which is fucking nasty. Now it's just Henry and Becky, and they're playing cards. And then Becky just automatically, or just starts asking him about himself. And it's really weird. It's really overly familial, like
super personal.
But Becky asks what Henry's dad was like, and he says he was a truck driver before he lost his legs. And I think we were talking about this, that it feels like this is the scene that they used to audition, because this feels very much like a regional theater, not in a bad way, but a theater scene. Two people on a stage.
Yeah, one set.
One set. And but the acting's great here. He's doing a great job, and so's Becky.
Up till this point, I was like, this might be the craziest fucking part in the movie. Like, why are you asking him this? Like, I know, and obviously you can tell she already has some type of affection for him, but it's just like, your brother told you, like her brother is a scumbag, but he told you multiple times, this guy killed his mom.
Yeah.
Don't ask him about it. And she's just like prying immediately,
Yeah. Yeah. She first he asks about the dad, then I think she's buttering him up, right? Because she offers some personal information about her as well, right, which is oversharing. Becky says she never liked her dad. He was abusive and that he sexually assaulted her. I don't feel like going into the details of everything she said because it's terrible, but he did sexually assault her.
Yeah, she had some traumatic childhood.
Right.
And adulthood, too.
Yeah, and so this is where we're saying, like, when her brother comes on to her, it's not like brand new to her, and it doesn't like repulse her because she's used to dealing with it,
Yeah.
Which is terrible. But it's great character because it's consistent from beginning to end, She says she never would have married Leroy if she didn't want to get away from her daddy so much. Then Henry says, you didn't get along with your daddy very much, huh? It's like, didn't you just hear her say that he sexually assaulted her and like was terrible with her and like was abusive? And it's like, are you not retaining this information? Are you not? I don't know. That was weird.
But yeah, there's times where he's almost just like not childlike, but you know what I mean. There's certain things where he kind of, it's like, well, he doesn't know how to really relate to other people. Where it's just like he wouldn't even. Did he not, like you said? Did he not pick up the whole horrible history she just told him?
He wasn't reading the room.
Yeah.
And this actually comes up later on. We'll find that he is what's the word? It's terrible. What's the word when you can't read?
Illiterate.
Illiterate, yeah. So we'll find out a little later on that he's illiterate.
Oh, yeah.
That's a horrible word to not remember. And you're making fun of other people when they're...
Well, no, we'll talk about it when we get to that part.
So this is where she asks Henry if he really killed his mama. And it's like less than an hour since Otis told her 3 times to not say anything, she asks. And then Henry's like, what? And then he says, I guess I did. And she asks how, and he says that I stabbed her. And then Becky says, Otis said that you hit her with a baseball bat. And Henry said, who? Really? He must be mistaken. Henry says that his mama was a whore, his words, which he didn't mind. It was how she did it. She was bringing them home when he was there, and also so was his dad. And she'd make him watch. She'd beat him if he didn't, and then she'd make him wear a dress also. So this is all the same shit that happened in actual life to Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah, horrible.
So then Becky says she feels like she's known Henry forever and ever. So he says, yeah, I killed my mama when he was 14 years old. They were in an argument. She hit him with a whiskey bottle, and he shot her. Becky says, I thought you stabbed her. Then Henry says, oh, yeah, that's right. I stabbed her. And this is so weird.
At that point in the movie, they don't show him. They haven't shown, like, that they've shown him following people. They never actually show him kill anybody yet at that point, I don't think.
That's a good point. They haven't.
They show him he's, like, gutting a fish and stuff, but they never show him kill anybody. And I was watching it thinking, maybe he didn't actually do it. You know what I mean? Like, he's not getting his details straight. Except for the fact that it's like you read about the real guy before. So, but if you hadn't, it's like, well, maybe he didn't. Maybe he told that they met in prison. Maybe he was trying to sound bad, And,
yeah, like if this is your first time seeing it, which it is, but like it's about a serial killer. And also it's called Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. But if you went in truly blind and you didn't know what the movie was called, up to this point, he hasn't killed anybody. That's a good point. But also this reminded me of that Batman movie. The one with Heath Ledger as Joker. Yeah. And he gives like 3 or 4 different stories of how he got the slits in his mouth or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what this felt like, because he's lying, but you don't know which one is the truth and which one is the lie.
Right.
And also, why would he lie? You know, he's an unreliable narrator.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But reading about the truth, or reading about the real story, the real Henry Lee Lucas, apparently, and I think maybe he even said it in that short documentary that we watched, was like he didn't actually remember killing his wife, his mom. He remembered hitting her, maybe having sex with her, but he didn't remember actually doing it, like her actually dying. So
he conveniently blacked out.
maybe he didn't know how it actually happened.
Yeah, in real life, he says that he stabbed her.
Okay.
In this one, he says hit her with a baseball bat, stabbed her, or shot her. So, but that was a great scene, and Michael Rooker's so fucking good in that scene.
That's why I keep calling him Yondu.
Do it. I don't care. Then Otis comes home and he kind of interrupts their scene, and at this point, like Becky is holding his hands, like has her hands on his, and then slides him off when Otis comes home.
Yeah, they've had a connection now, sharing that stuff.
Yeah. So next day, Becky goes and gets a job at a hair salon, and there's some more amazing shots of Chicago in the 80s as she's walking up and down the streets. There's one part where she's coming out of the subway station, and there's two men arguing there. And in the making of, on the disc, the director said that those two men were really there. They were shooting on the streets of Chicago guerrilla style without any permits. And so when they went to set up that scene, they asked those men to leave, and they wouldn't leave. And they were just arguing for a long time, and they would never leave. So like, all right, let's just shoot the scene.
Yeah.
So it's like the cinema verite style, just getting shit done. You know, it was kind of crazy.
Do they have underground? Do they have subways or just L?
No, there's subway stations.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. There's subway stations, and there's like the blue line, the red line. It all goes everywhere. And then there's the L.
Then there's L. Yeah.
Yeah. So at night, when Becky's telling Otis and Henry that she got the job, Otis says, "So you like that better than dancing naked?" And so this is what Henry asks, "Oh, so you used to dance naked?" And Otis says, "Sure, she used to dance naked around the house. Best little naked dancer you ever seen." And then Becky tells him to quit it. Again, just Otis being a weird piece of shit.
He also asks her what she does for her new job. I think Otis asked her, and she says, "I'm giving shampoos at the hair salon." And she said, "Well, what does that mean?" She's like, "What do you think, idiot? I shampoo people's hair before it gets cut."
He was like, "Oh, I've never been in a woman's hair salon before." I'm like, "But yeah, it's literally in the name."
Yeah.
She shampoos hair. So Becky says she did dance in a club, but she wasn't naked, but she did wear a skimpy costume. Otis asks when she's going to dance for them. And then she says when the Pope pees in his hat, which Otis really likes. He says, "Ain't she got a mouth on her?" And she says, "I better have something on me to defend me from a pig like you," which again is foreshadowing. And then Otis makes the damn pig sound, which is, that pig sound is terrifying because they did it in, what was that backwoods movie in the 70s? And
Deliverance.
Yeah, Deliverance. They did that
squeal like a pig.
I fucking hate that shit, man.
Yeah.
And I've said before, like, that I hate rednecks, and rednecks are like the scariest thing for me. And I famously said that. But
you're gonna carve that on your tombstone.
Yeah, I've said it like 2 or 3 times in the past couple of episodes. But I know we're in the city, but Otis feels like a city redneck or something.
Yeah.
You know, he's almost out of place in here, but also I have known people like this, and it's not as terrible or whatever. But
right, but yeah, and it's also, I don't know if they ever say where he came from, but it seems like he's out of prison now, and this might just be where he's living at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is. He's kind of like a redneck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because if Becky and his mom are back home somewhere south or in the country, we'd imagine, maybe that's where they were from, where he was from originally, and he just moved there from the big city after prison. That's true. Henry compliments her earring. She says thank you, and Otis apologizes and shakes her knee, which is like, why are you touching her? And Henry looks at Otis. I don't know if you pictured it or if you noticed this, but when Otis is apologizing and like shaking her knee, Henry like looks at Otis and is like, he didn't appreciate that. He was really angry.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so I saw this movie 3 times because I saw it with you, Then I saw the director's commentary, and then I saw it to take notes. So like I was able to.
Oh, so you mean in the past 24 hours you've watched it 3
Yes.
times? Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna watch it again after you. No. Becky says she has a surprise for them. She goes and gets this I Love Chicago shirt that she bought. Otis tells her to put it on, and she tells him to turn around and not look. And of course, Otis tries to take a peek at his sister. And then this is where I noticed that they're drinking old style again. And then Henry doesn't know what it says. And this is where we figure out that he can't read.
Yeah, I wondered about that. Whereas, like in another movie, like someone would say, you'd think maybe they're joking. That might just be a funny thing to say. Oh, what's that say? This thing that has 2 words and 1 symbol on it. But he doesn't seem to ever joke, obviously, in the movie. So I'm like, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just illiterate.
Yeah, probably.
But you figure even if you I've worked with students who are dyslexic and illiterate and things like that in the past, and it's like they usually have compensation skills where they can
context clues or something.
Yeah, and there are sight words that they've seen enough that they just know this is the word. They don't know it because they're decoding it or anything, and they have these skills that they don't want to admit they can't do it, so they have these skills to try to get through without being noticed. And so you figure something like I Heart Chicago, someone would figure out, but again, he's not really like a regular guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I thought that was strange because, like I said, it was almost if he said it as a joke, I would have thought that's a funny joke. But yeah, he didn't seem like he was joking ever about anything.
And I like that it's very subtle.
Yeah,
right? They don't hit you over the head with it. Like she doesn't say, "Hey, can you read this note to me?" And he's like, "Oh, I can't read," So it's just, I like the subtle touch. I mean. Yeah, they like show people being murdered or being murdered later on. So that part's not subtle very much, but like they do sprinkle subtle hints about Otis's character about Henry's character throughout the movie.
But that documentary we watched, we saw a note that he wrote where he was confessing to these different crimes.
That
it was
is true.
like this nice cursive, but maybe learned in prison or something,
So then Otis asks Becky to get him a beer, and when she does, he grabs her and tries to kiss her. And then Henry reacts very rapidly and grabs him by the back of the head and says, "Don't do that, Otis. She's your sister." So in Becky's eyes, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's protector.
He's protector, and if we only see this movie through what Becky has seen, he is a good guy, right?
Yeah.
He works. He's got, for all she knows, he leaves the house.
Yeah.
And he brings money back in. He protects her. They get along. Like, he's nice to her, that sort of stuff. But she obviously doesn't know everything.
Yeah, she doesn't know the rest of his story.
And in real life,
she does know that he killed his mom, though.
That is true. And then,
But that doesn't seem to be.
But she could be seeing it as he was an abused child.
Yeah, she has trauma.
And he was 14 years old.
Yeah.
But in real life, I think they were saying that the real life Becky was with him for a lot longer than this in this movie, and they're pretty sure she knew what was happening. Okay. But she was also in real life was 14 when he first met her.
And she was like Otis's niece, right?
Yeah, Otis's niece, and they started a relationship, but obviously not. Henry was molesting Becky, because at 14 you can't have a relationship.
Yeah, you're truly consenting.
But she was with him for a while, and they think that she knew that he was killing people. But so this movie doesn't match up 100% for what happened, but it's very close. He makes Otis apologize, and he promises that he won't do it again. So here we start to see that Henry is the alpha, or the leader, and Otis is kind of like the beta, the sidekick. And you'll also see like sometimes Otis will talk back to Henry, and then Henry will say, "What?" And Otis will say, "Oh, nothing."
Yeah, nothing.
No, I'm just kidding. So Becky encourages them to go out and get a beer, which they both do hesitantly. She says she'll do the dishes or whatever. And again, this is another part where she doesn't react like if this was the first time that her brother had tried to kiss her, she'd probably grab her shit and leave or call the cops. But she doesn't do that. She's doing that. There's something in therapy where a coping mechanism where a person who has been when they have had trauma as a young person or whatever, they try to compensate for that by being
like a people pleaser.
A people pleaser,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what she does. She says, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll do the dishes. You guys go out and have a good time." So obviously, this isn't the first time Otis has done that to her. So again, this is another subtle thing that they do here.
Yeah.
And if you're not paying attention to it, or if you don't pick up on it, it doesn't distract from the movie. But it does. If you do pick up on it, it adds so much more depth to it. So it's good. So they're gonna go out, and Otis throws on the ugliest shirt that I've ever seen. It's like blue with like triangles all over it.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, I don't know where he got it from. And then
You said you had a Twism jacket like that.
Tim, I wasn't gonna pick it up, but it did remind me of the pattern on this Twism jacket I had in high school. And of course, everybody knows Twism was Shaq's was Shaquille O'Neal's clothing label that he had exclusively in Marshalls or something.
And what does that stand for? Twism?
The world is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before he was doing commercials for the General and
Right.
running Papa John's and stuff.
So I used to rock the Twism. So what? and then so Otis changes into that shirt, and then on his way back he grabs Henry's jacket for him.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so it's like another thing that a beta would do for.
He's like his lackey.
Yeah. So here we see some rock. We hear some rock and roll music, and then we see the flashing lights of nighttime Chicago, and then we see them picking up sex workers. And once the sex workers get in the car, the music changes, and it changes to that killer music that we've been hearing in the past. And then we're hearing. I put down in my notes sex noises.
Yeah, there's like some moans.
Yeah, moans. Yeah. I should have put down moans, not sex noises. But we're hearing some moaning coming from the car, which is parked in an alley. And then we hear the sex worker telling Henry to slow down. Slow down, cowboy. And then she starts screaming. And then we get further into closer to the car. We can see that Henry is like strangling her in the back seat. And then we hear him snap her neck. Then the woman who's in the front with Otis turns around and starts screaming, and Henry reaches up and just snaps her neck as well. And I got to say, the easiness in which people's necks are snapped.
Oh yeah, they're like.
It's like we're twigs.
It's like a toothpick, yeah.
Either he's very strong.
Well, he's got experience.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he knows exactly where to do it.
But that I think is the first time that they show anybody get killed,
on screen, right?
Yeah.
That's the first time, of course, we see Henry killing as well.
Yeah.
And then he automatically, like, he just goes into this killer mode where he snaps the neck, and then he gets out of the car and he just throws them out of the car, and he grabs Otis. He's like, Otis, get out of there. I'll drive, And then
that's another alpha thing. He's like, I'm driving.
And then I saw Otis's face when he snapped the woman's neck. His sex worker's neck was like, holy shit, what just happened here? So you know that up until this point, Otis hasn't killed for fun.
Right.
And in fact, the next scene, he says that he's killed out of necessity.
Yeah, he said, I've had to.
Yeah, when I've had to.
And Henry, I think, just says, hey man, it's you or them, as if everybody on Earth is, they might kill you if you don't kill them.
All right, so after they murder the sex workers, they're driving home, and Otis is upset about the murder. They stop and get something to eat, and despite what he says, Otis does not look better, but Henry's eating like nothing has happened.
Yeah, he's got an appetite now.
Yeah. And Michael Rooker is a great fake eater, because he's just like masticating. And I forget, I just saw this recently within the last week or two. Somebody was talking about fake eating in movies, And they're like, you'll notice that whenever somebody is eating, they'll let them chew for a little bit, and then they'll always cut to another camera angle before they swallow, because otherwise these actors have to do these scenes over and over and over again. They're just going to keep eating that. They'll get sick.
Oh yeah.
So I don't. This movie was a independent movie made on a budget. I don't know if he was like doing that or throwing it up, because it looked like he was actually eating that.
He might just be like a one take wonder. He knocked it out of the park.
But they're saying like people like Brad Pitt are like great fake eaters, because they'll take a big bite of like an apple and just chewing it up.
Yeah.
But then they'll cut it and then they'll spit it out. So I just it also comes back later. But yeah, I just noticed how good of a fake eater Michael Rooker was. So next we see them at home and they're still talking about it, and Henry tells Otis that he had no choice. He had, Otis or Henry's the one who killed him. You were just along for the ride. And then Henry says, it's always the same. It's always different, but it's always the same. It's either you or them, one way or the other, like you were saying. He says, open your eyes, Otis. Look at the world. It's either you or them. Yeah, says Otis. And then Henry gives him a hug and offers him a beer. It's the last old style, and they share it. In one of the cut scenes, this part they were supposed to kiss and then have sex, because in real life they were lovers.
Right.
But in the making of documentary, Michael Rooker said the scene just didn't work because we were terrible. Him and
Tom Towles
had like no chemistry as far as like making out or whatever. He's like, it was terrible to see. So it's like we cut it out.
Right. But yeah, it was almost like if Otis it's like, okay, I guess Otis is cool with this, so maybe that made them closer, or
exactly.
Or at least like they know they could trust each other. And
now he feels like he has a partner in it.
Yeah.
Then we cut to a scene. Otis is watching a TV, the TV set, and it isn't working, so he starts slapping it to make it work. Then he grows frustrated and he kicks it and breaks it. First of all, we grew up in the time when we would have had one of these TVs.
Yeah, those screens are thick.
You could not have kicked it. You would have broken your foot.
Yeah. I don't know if he had boots or anything, but yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Those things are like hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, and I think you'd have to like back up and go with your heel, like a mule kick or something. Not like a kick he did he would have broken some toes or something.
Did you ever watch Weird Science?
The movie?
Yes.
No, I haven't watched it.
The way the brother Chet kicks open the door, he like spins around and does this backwards kick. Maybe that would crack it.
Probably break it.
But yeah, he just destroyed the TV with one kick.
And do you remember also having to do that, having to hit the
yeah.
fuck with the rabbit
ears?
Fuck
with the rabbit ears, exactly.
UHF, all that shit. Yeah.
Or give it. My brother would always do that, where he'd try to slap it to see if it would work, and sometimes it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you'd hear your dad in the background, don't hit it.
Yeah. We had a TV similar to that where you change the channel with a dial.
Yeah.
And I remember that broke. My brother had it, and it would just have a pair of pliers clamped on. Basically, just leave him there. Like, oh, you want to switch to Channel 5 to watch Married with Children?
Yeah.
You got to turn the pliers.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. So Henry asks why he did that for, and Otis says, I guess I got carried away. And Henry says, I guess you did. And I think this boils down their personalities perfectly. It's impulse control or lack thereof, right?
Yeah.
Because now you fucked yourself, right? You just broke this TV, and he says, shit, I got to have a TV.
Yeah, I got to have a TV. Delivery was
so he's like looking at it like somebody else did it, right? Like, no, you just did that.
Yeah.
And then Henry says, well, let's go shopping. And this leads to one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
This guy is
That is my favorite, I think.
So they go to another seedy alleyway, which Chicago's full of them. And they park, and they're led into a warehouse, and there's a guy there who asks, what they can do for them.
It was nighttime, right?
Yeah, it was nighttime, yeah. They say they want a TV, and they have $50. And for $50, it says you can have this small TV. Otis says it's black and white.
But I don't think they tell them at first that they have $50.
Right. Well, they want to see if it... Well, how does it... Do you remember how it went?
Because I thought... No, maybe... No, they do. I was thinking.
But he doesn't tell him it's black and white right away.
Yes, and then he shows him all the different stuff, and he ends up saying, "We'll take the $50 one." And the guy's like, "Why the fuck did you ask me to show you all this stuff?"
Yeah.
Gets aggressive.
So they want to see if it works, so he tells Otis to plug it in, and that's when they see it's black and white. He says,
I think he says, "What do you want for fucking $50?" No, what did he say? He's like, I might have even written it down because it just made me laugh. He's like, "What do you want? 3D for Christ's sake?"
Yeah.
You know.
So the guy unplugs the TV and says, "Here, plug it in here." And then Otis is like, "Here?" He's like, "Yeah, here." He says, "I see you've had some college."
Yeah, it's funny. That's
and,
like,
and
that's.
He's just insulting them the whole time. He says, "So what do you want? You want cable ready? You want UHF, 13-inch, 19-inch?"
I bet you love a 19-inch.
And then Otis cracks up and he's elbowing. So like Otis can be like funny sometimes, you know, but
yeah.
But that's what you're saying. Like Henry didn't get the joke or didn't laugh at it.
Yeah.
So I don't think Henry was joking earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just not in on it.
So he offers to sell them a set for $150, but for $75 more, he can have this nicer unit. And then Otis sees something and he asks what it is, and the guy tells him it's a handheld camcorder. They can make their own movies on it. Then he says it's $500,000. Henry says $500. He says, "Yeah, $500,000 is $500."
I love it. Everything. He's like, "Oh, this is worth $600. I'll give it to you for $300. This is worth $1,000. I'll give it to you for $500,000.
Yeah. This motherfucker, he's a smart ass. And then after all that, like you're saying, they only wanted the $50 TV, and he gets angry and he insults them some more.
That actually reminded. There was this guy. So I used to in New York. I would always go to this record fair every year. It was real big. Just walk around, look at stuff, selling records. And there was this guy who always would have stuff that I liked. This guy, like, if I saw him, I'd shoot the breeze or whatever. But he's like an angry guy. Like he got maybe banned from selling stuff at the fair because he almost beat the shit out of someone who was touching his stuff in a way he didn't like. You know what I mean? And this guy eventually opened a record store, and I went there one time, and there was something I wanted to. So first he had binders full of these old flyers for old punk shows, his original stuff, and I was like, "You think I could look through those?" He's like, "You gonna fucking buy any of them?" And I'm like, "To be honest, probably not." And he's like, "Well, I don't want you touching them then," which I get because like.
But it was in a binder. It was in plastic, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if he thinks I'm gonna crease them. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. Maybe, probably not. But what if there's one I come across?
I have a feeling they were gonna be more than I could afford or whatever. But this guy opened a record store, and I went one time. He had this big thing. It said, 20% off everything. Then you get there, and in small print it says, "Except for punk and metal," which is like the stuff I would have been buying there. Yeah. But he had this record, and it was high up where I couldn't reach. Nobody could reach it. And I was like, "Hey, you think you can get that down for me? I want to check it out." And he's like, "You think you're going to fucking buy it?" But I was like, "I'm planning on it, dude." But that
is that New York sensibility, or is that guy just an asshole?
He was like, I think he used to be like a New York cop. He was like kind of just an asshole.
Oh, fuck that guy.
But yeah, I just remember that and being like, "You gonna fucking buy the thing?" And it's like, dude, you're walking like 3 steps up a ladder or something. I'm not asking you to fucking go drive home and get it for me so I can look at it. But yeah, it's that kind of antagonistic, buyer-seller relationship.
He sounds like a peach. So then...
all his records smelled like cigarettes when I bought them, too.
That sucks, man. Like, I used to collect posters, and you'd have to ask people if they came from smoking homes.
Smoke-free homes, stuff like that,
yeah. It just gets in
everything. It's just stuck in there,
And then you can't get it out, then you're just screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like records from 1981 or something. And it's like, dude, why does it still smell like cigarettes?
Because you just chain smoke.
Yeah.
So Henry really says he wants a color TV. The guy says, "Do you have shit in your ears? $50, take it or leave it for the black and white one." Henry does not like this. And then we hear So Henry says, "Sorry we wasted your time." And then the guy says, "Don't give me sorry, dumbass. Give me the $50 and get out." Then when we see Henry's face after the insult, then that musical sting comes in, and you know shit's about to go down. Henry grabs a soldering iron and just starts stabbing the guy with it.
And the music is like stab, like, wait,
yeah,
like in time with it.
Yeah, it's like a Psycho a little bit there. And then Otis he's just like, he's down with the get down. He just starts choking him with a cord, and Henry just keeps stabbing him. Then he grabs the $50 TV and just breaks it over the guy's head, and he tells Otis to plug it in. He says, "Otis, plug it in." Then he does, and the electrical sparks explode. That was more like over the top kill. That I wouldn't necessarily think would be in this type of movie.
Yeah, it doesn't. Not that it doesn't fit, because it was like, it might have been my favorite scene.
Yeah.
but yeah, it tonally is definitely different than the rest.
And it's more. It fits more in the 80s genre type of horror movies.
Yes, totally.
Which we love, but not specifically this movie.
Like doing it and then going the extra step and plugging it in. It's like really, yeah, exactly. It would be like in like Freddie would say some
ready for prime time, bitch.
I wrote a note when we were watching it. There used to be a heavy metal band called Nasty Savage from Florida, and their big thing was their singer was this guy named Nasty Ronnie, and I think he was like maybe a wrestling promoter or something, but he would smash a TV on his head when they played, and I think that was like what got them known. You know what I mean? So I was thinking that last night. I was like, I need to look that up to see if that's if that's what I thought, and yeah, it was Nasty Ronnie. They're like some Florida metal band.
So two things here I wanted to say. One was that the guy who played the guy who just got killed right now, in real life, he was a huge pirater of movies.
Oh, wow.
And he was part of one of the first lawsuits dealing with pirating.
Holy shit.
So, yeah. He was
like a defendant or whatever?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he kind of was playing himself in
he's like selling stolen TVs. You know, he's in a warehouse.
Yeah.
In some shady warehouse at night where you got to go in through like a garage, roll-up kind of garage. And
with
stuff.
a remote control.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
The clicker.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was going to say is, it's funny you said about wrestling, because this movie actually came about because... I
read this.
Yeah, the director, he made a movie out of public domain footage of like mobsters, right?
Okay.
And it was released, and it did pretty okay. And then so his producers wanted to do the same thing with wrestling footage, public domain wrestling footage, but the people that they were buying the actual footage from switched the price on them.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, fuck it, we're not gonna do it. We're not gonna deal with you anymore." So then he just offered the money that they're gonna use for that to this director to make a horror movie. But when they saw the end result, they didn't like it because they wanted a bloodier movie. Because keep in mind, we're in mid-80s, you know, and they're seeing all these slashes on the TV, on the shelves of rental places, and this movie was less subtle than that. So that's another reason why they didn't release the movie. But I just thought it was funny because you brought up the rest.
Yeah, I saw that I guess the director was like, this budget is so small, I can't do something with aliens or monsters, you know, like I can't do something with a big special effects budget, so I'll do this real, like you said, almost at times like a documentary, you know.
Yeah, a real life monster.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, so the producers offered him the money, and he's like, okay, and then he walked out and he went to a friend's office in the same company, and he was like, yo, they just offered me this money, I don't know what to do, I have no script. And the friend was a huge collector of like VHS or stuff like that. And he's like, oh, here, watch this. And he popped in a video, like a 2020 video on Henry Lee Lucas. And then he's like, okay, I'll make the movie on this guy.
I wonder if his friend was like, you know, it's like trading like extreme stuff. You know, like he probably had Faces of Death and Traces of Death.
Or snuff movies or something.
Yeah, exactly.
They drop the TV on his head and the electric sparks explode. And then immediately we hear another rock and roll song start playing. Baby, You're Driving Me Crazy. Do you know this song? It seems like, because you were singing it when we were
the Sonics. It's like this old garage band from like Seattle or something like that.
Okay.
That song is called The Witch.
Okay.
And they have another song called Psycho that's like kind of well known. But yeah, I like that song.
And it's a great cut. Like,
yeah.
This drastic scene to like just them. And then they're using so I think at this time Otis has a camcorder and he's using it to record Becky and No, I apologize. Henry has
Yeah.
the camcorder, and he's using it to record Otis and Becky dancing to this song.
Because I think he says something like, "Go on, Otis, you're a star," or something weird like that.
Yeah, and then Otis is getting a little handsy
Yeah.
with his sister and like hugging her, and like, I mean, nothing wrong with hugging your sister, but like
Yeah.
touching her
know.
inappropriately or whatever, and like she's pushing him off, and then Becky grabs Henry to dance, and Henry gives Otis the camcorder, and then they start dancing, and then she kisses Henry, and then Otis is there encouraging them to get crazy and crazier.
Yeah.
And he's like, more, and it's like, what do you want them to do?
Yeah,
do
you want them to go all the way, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus Christ, Otis.
But yeah, I noticed at that part, it also shows their living room then, and they have this big TV that's been kicked in with a working TV on top of it.
Oh.
And it's just like straight up like Jeff Foxworthy joke, you know? You'd say like, if you have a TV on top of another non-working TV, you might be a redneck, yeah.
Oh, and also earlier in the movie when we were watching, remember you noticed that Dolly Parton can?
The trash can.
Yeah, the trash can in their kitchen.
Yeah.
That was weird.
I know. Well, it was like, the movie's, like you said, it's almost like, production-wise, almost like a TV movie, and it's really drab, and then it's just like this bright pink garbage can with the blonde hair. Like, it stands out like some color in the movie.
Yeah, and it honestly feels like, and they might have just gone into somebody's home and not changed anything, left everything exactly the same, and just shot like that. So,
yeah.
So Otis keeps encouraging them to go more and more, and I feel like this is disgusting, and it feels disgusting to be in the audience to watch this.
Yeah, once they get that camera, it's like more voyeuristic.
Yeah,
especially the scene that comes after that.
Yeah,
it's we'll get to it obviously, but yeah, it's a lot more uncomfortable. Because, like you said, yeah, you're in the audience now.
And I feel like they're saying something about us as audience members.
You've been watching this whole time, no problem.
Yeah. And I'm actually happy when later on we'll talk about it when the camera is destroyed.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to see that anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, Otis is encouraging them to keep going, and Henry is saying no, and finally he sits down and he just yells at him to stop. And so, of course, Otis stops. The next day we see Otis at his parole officer's office, and this guy doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. And he's barely doing his job. He's just like, oh, you still here? Cool. You still doing this? Yeah, cool. Hey, listen, I got
something I gotta take care of with my son.
You cool? You good? All right, bro. We'll see you next month. And then the Otis just puts on his hat. He's like, all right, man.
Yeah, it was like a Jack Daniels hat.
Yeah, Jack Daniels hat. And I think specifically it's noteworthy because he's wearing that in a scene in which he's killing somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was previous or the next scene. So it's like, I wore the same hat that I killed somebody with to my parole officers.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. So it's just a system at work. So next we see Otis at the school, and he's giving the kids the jugs that he bought. And again, he asks if he wants to smoke, just like all you weed dealers. And he gives the kid the joint, and then he fills up the kid's thigh, and the kid immediately just fucking decks him in the face, which I thought was fucking hilarious. And then the kid runs away. Next, we see Otis cleaning himself at home in the mirror. He's saying he wants to kill the kid. Henry says you can't because people have seen you together. Otis says he'd like to kill somebody, and then Henry says, "Say that again."
Yeah.
Which was that was scary.
Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's all I need to know.
I want you to say it again to make sure that you're serious. And Otis says it again. He'd like to kill somebody, and then Henry says, "Let's you and me go for a ride." So then they at night they go to Lower Wacker Drive, where there's no traffic, and they pretend to be broken down. And then Henry gives them a gun, and they wait for somebody to come by and help them. What I thought was interesting when I was reading or when I was listening to the director's commentary, was that again they had no permits. They shot at night. There's usually no traffic at night on Lower Wacker Drive, so they just went there and shot the scene. And when we see cars driving by, that's just cars driving by.
Wow.
So I can imagine. And then they always said that their production team was very small, maybe the actors and maybe 3 or 4 other people. So I can imagine that would be very scary to be shooting it at night in Lower Wacker Drive, all dark and stuff like that.
Yeah, or it would be scary if you happen to be driving by
Right.
nearby and you look out your window, you see somebody getting
Like, holy
blasted.
shit,
You're
what
just
the
like,
hell?
what the hell happened?
So they wait for a Good Samaritan to come by, and so Good Samaritan stops and says, "Do you guys need help?" And Henry says, "I don't know, Otis. Do we need help?" And Otis just takes the gun out and shoots him 3 times, and just starts cracking up.
I was gonna say, I remembered that from last night that he just had a big smile on his face as he's shooting this guy who's just stopped at night to help him out.
And Henry's like, "Do you feel better?" And Otis is like, "Yeah." This is chilling stuff. But I don't know if you noticed that the sound in this scene is terrible. But I think we talked about it. It was like low, really low, because of course you have the sound of just a city at night, and then there's Upper Wacker Drive, which a lot of cars do drive on.
Okay.
And then, they didn't redo the audio on it. They just used whatever they had on it.
Yeah, you put lights humming, cars driving,
exactly.
all that. Yeah.
Which is funny because there's another scene later on where they did have to redo the audio, and I'll tell you about that. The next day, Henry is explaining to Otis about the MOs, which is this is what we talked about earlier, where you have to change up how you kill someone each time. But while they're doing this, do you remember what's happening here?
Yeah, and I wondered about that. So from what I remember, that scene, it was like there are these 2 homeless guys attacking another guy.
Yeah.
And they're filming it. So I was wondering, like, did they pay these guys? How would you just stumble upon that? Like, you happen to have your camera and you're like, oh, hey, look at this. So I didn't know were they killing that other guy?
It looked like it was, at first it looked like it was punching him, but then there was some stabbing involved.
That's what I thought. So it was like, did they just want to get that on camera?
Yeah,
we were talking about, like, Menace to Society, where they get the security tape at the convenience store.
Yeah.
But then people watch it for fun, and it's just like, they get worried, or we're going to get in trouble because too many people are going to see this. I'm like, are these guys just going to be watching this video of...
Which we do find out later on that they do watch their crimes.
Right, with the other one, yeah.
So, and again, Michael Rooker is fake eating. So I just wanted to point this out. It's very important.
While
Otis is recording. Yeah.
You know what he's eating?
That I don't remember. Oh, shoot. I'll put it on right now. Nah, I don't remember. So he says the most important thing is to always be on the run. And actually, he's going to be leaving soon. And he asks Otis if he wants to come along with. And he says he can't because of probation. So now the kills are escalating. They're coming faster and faster. And this is true to life to actual serial killers. When they might start killing once every couple months, but then it's just the longer they go without being caught, they get cockier and cockier.
They feel invincible.
So the kills start escalating, and that's what's happening in this movie. It's night, and they're creeping in a neighborhood, and the audio sounds like a Bone Thugs and Harmony album because like it's all like warped, and it's just like I'm like, oh shit. It's slowed down, distorted voices in the background. They pull up to a house, and the house has all their lights on. And then all the houses around them are turned off. So I think this kind of plays with, not a trope, but that feeling that when you're at home and you have all the lights on, you're safe. Like when you go on vacation, you keep the lights
leave a light
on
a timer
because nobody's going to fuck with a house that has lights on. No, but these guys, like a moth to a flame, went right to the house that had the lights on, which is kind of scary.
That's scary.
Next, we see a TV screen, and we see the view of Henry recording while Otis is attacking a woman. But we're not seeing it. You don't catch it right away. In fact, not until a couple minutes after this did I realize what was happening. But we're actually seeing it from the point of view of somebody watching it on a TV screen.
Yeah.
Right. And so Henry is recording Otis attacking a woman while her husband is tied and gagged on the floor with a bag over his head. This is the hardest scene to get through in this movie.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. This is, like I said, when I pictured what this movie was like in my mind, it was kind of like this, and it really is. Yeah, it's like the most difficult part to watch.
Yeah, and this is very interesting because Michael Rooker as a lead is very charismatic, very charming. but you know that he's a rapist and well, do we know he's a rapist in this particular movie yet? I don't think so. But we know he's a murderer and, you know, a felon and all that. So he's a terrible person. But then we also see, like, how he is with Becky, and he's a...
Right now, he kind of defended her at other times and told Otis, that's your sister, you don't do stuff like that.
Yeah. And so, at this point, he's your main character, but in another movie, you'd be rooting for your main character, but at this point in this movie, you can't be rooting for him, so you kind of, like, feel very discombobulated, like, you don't know what's going on. You feel it's very distressing as a viewer, as an audience member, to be watching this.
But this is really like what you said earlier, where it's like you are participating and watching it. They really drive it home, where it's like you're looking through the camera, watching this happen, and then you watch it again later.
But you watch it 3 times in a 24-hour period.
So we've seen this scene 6 times then. Or this sequence of events, you know.
We hear the husband yelling, and we hear the wife yelling, and Otis is sexually assaulting her, and the woman is fighting, and we see Henry in the reflection of a mirror in the background.
I was gonna say that part's just like prolonged, you know. But then their son shows up.
Yeah, were you expecting that, or was that a?
Oh no, I wasn't expecting that. That
was a surprise. I've seen this movie and I forgot about it.
Yeah, and it's just like it's horrible. It's so horrible, you know. It's like it's horrible for this kid. Then the mom has to watch what happens to her son.
Yeah.
The dad has to fucking just hear it.
Can't do anything
while he's getting kicked and stuff.
Yeah, so the son walks in and sees what's happening, and Henry immediately drops the camera and runs to the kid and starts beating him up and gets him to the floor and choking with him, fighting him. And then, again, his modus operandi, he snaps his neck. So actually, he says that you have to change the way you kill people, but so far he's killed 3 people like this.
Just snapping their neck.
Just snapping their neck.
Half a second.
Which, again, Otis thinks is hilarious. And then to kind of go around the crowd, I guess it's almost like he's trying to impress Henry. He goes and snaps the wife's neck.
Yeah, like, hey, I've learned from your...
look what I can
under
do.
your tutelage.
Yeah, and then he starts making out with her, which is terrible.
Yeah, and like I said, like that, they don't really pull away at all in that scene, you know? So
it's unrelenting.
Yeah.
And off screen, we hear Henry stab the husband. Then Henry picks up the camera again, and Otis starts sexually assaulting the dead woman. But Henry yells at him to stop, which he does. Then they leave. 2 things in this. First, in this script, up until a week before they were going to shoot it, they were both going to have sex with this woman after she was dead. But then the director was like, no, I don't want to film that. So he took it out. 2, the second thing was that Henry Lee Lucas did actually have sex. The serial killer, the actual person, Henry Lee Lucas, did actually have sex with people, with dead women. Or actually with dead people, because I think he had sex with men as well.
And he said dead animals in that
documentary. And dead animals as well. Yeah. What did he say? Something terrible like, a dead animal is better than a live woman.
Any day or something.
Yeah. It's terrible.
That was, you know, watching that documentary is just like, I'm sure these, like, the different law enforcement people they're interviewing have heard everything, but they're just saying that stuff just like...
nonchalantly?
Yeah, just like, you know, like you're fucking reading the morning paper or something. They're just like... Yeah, and then he would also have sex with animals from time to time. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
Talking about, you know, he also liked to ride his bike around the block or something.
And actually, there was... so after he was apprehended for, like, a couple killing 2 people. In fact, he was apprehended for killing Becky, the real life Becky. He started confessing to tons and tons of murders, and like he confessed eventually to like over 1,000 murders or something like that. And so they created this Lucas task force of where sheriffs and police departments from around the country would fly him out to them and have him confess. Or they would go visit him or whatever and have him confess to all these murders that were on the books. And it got to a point where he started requesting things like stuff to make his life in prison better.
19-inch TV.
Yeah, or like food or something like that. And then he got so pal or chummy with the task force that they started letting him walk around the police station without handcuffs.
Wow.
And he even knew codes to get behind into closets or whatever, because they were using him. These lazy police officers just wanted to get these deaths,
high clearance rate or
yeah,
whatever.
they just wanted to get these deaths off of their rolls. So they were just like, in fact, they started handing him case files and letting him read them over and take them back before he would confess.
Jesus.
So that he would have intimate knowledge of things, so they could charge him for it. That's so it wasn't until like around the time this movie was made, like in mid '80s or something like that, somebody wrote a story about the bullshit that the police departments were doing, and then they started like clearing out all those confessions that he said he had done, and he was actually on death. What's it called? He was on
death row.
Death row. He was on death row in Texas for 2 murders, or for 1 murder, but he was commuted to life in prison by George W. Bush, who was the governor of Texas at the time, because it was proven that the murder that he said that he was convicted for death row was in Texas, or it was in one state, and it was proven that he was in fact in another state.
Yeah, like he couldn't possibly have done it.
So he couldn't possibly have done it, So he was just a lying, murdering asshole.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's probably just, I like the attention I'm getting here. I could get some special treatment.
Yeah.
That was another thing in that documentary. The guy was like, real nonchalantly, I mean, I don't know how else you should say it, but he's like, yeah, so we're going to bring him in for a lethal injection. We're going to do this first. This incapacitates, whatever. And just real matter of fact, we're going to use these things, these different chemicals or whatever.
So they leave the crime scene. That's when we pull back and we see that what we've just seen was them watching their crime on the VCR, on their TV that they just killed that guy for.
Yeah.
Then Otis rewinds it and he wants to see it again. And there's this great, like, intense music here, and then the scene fades.
Yeah, because wasn't Henry like, what are you doing? And he's just like, yeah, I want to watch it again.
Yeah, Henry's not like, no, dude, we just saw that. He's just like, okay, whatever. Oh, and then it's like he's slow-moing it at the point where he's, like, sexually assaulting that woman.
Yeah.
Next day, we see Becky on the phone with her mother. Apparently, her husband has been arrested. She asks to speak to Lurleen, her daughter, and apologizes and says she won't be home soon, but she promises to try. Next, we see the boys driving around recording. Yeah, they're recording women on the street, and they're like,
the boys.
Yeah, the boys. Yeah, boys will be boys. No, it's terrible.
But yeah, they're driving around just in the streets. Otis is just recording women. Like,
oh, look at her.
Yeah.
But the funny part to me is that all these women are fully clothed.
Oh yeah.
From head to toe, you can't see an inch of skin. And he's just like, oh, look at that dress. Look at that. I'm like, what are you looking at, man?
Yeah, her ankle or something.
Yeah.
It's hanging out of the window.
He's hanging out of
Ventura.
And what's funny is, like, friends of mine used to do something similar to this, not with women, but we used to.
They weren't grisly murderers.
No. But we had a camcorder, and we would drive around and pull stupid teenager pranks on people. Like, go to the drive-thru and, like, do a funny voice at the...
White Castle.
At the it was a White Castle. At the White Castle, and, like, when you're ordering things, just, like, do a stupid voice, and then when you get there, like, see what they say, and they're like, what do you want?
They're like, stop bothering me.
I'm
trying to work.
Just leave me the fuck alone. But we thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I had a friend who, one of my close friends, he used to do this thing where there was this Taco Bell right near a train station. So he would go and he would say, I came here this morning, I ordered, I came here 11 a.m., tried to order some lunch. You gave me the wrong thing. This would be like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Yeah. And they'll say, well, why? Do you have your receipt? He's like, no, I got on the train to go to work. I fucking threw the receipt out. Like, I asked for no meat, and you gave it to me with meat to try to scam free food.
Okay.
And sometimes it would be like One time he drove away because I was just like howling in the backseat. I just
you were in the car?
I couldn't stop laughing. Just this type of thing where it's like, as a 20-year-old, I thought it was very funny. As an adult, I'm like, you're just fucking bothering someone who's at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got to the point where, this is how fucking bored we were. One night, he was going to do that, and basically the woman said, you do this shit all the time. And he was like, well, you guys always fuck up my order. If you didn't fuck up my order, I wouldn't do it. And again, even at that point, I was like, that's probably a bad character trait that you just immediately lie and fucking try to blame it on someone else.
Yeah.
But we were so bored. Basically, the woman said, if you don't come back with the food or the receipt, you're never getting this again. And he was like, yo, let's drive. There's Taco Bells everywhere. Let's drive to another one, pull the same thing on them. So basically, he was like, shows up at Taco Bell A and says, I don't eat meat. You gave me a burrito with meat in it, like a beef burrito. Drive to Taco Bell B and say, I ordered a beef burrito and you gave me a bean one. So they would give him a beef one.
Yeah.
And then drive back to A and be like, see, you fucking gave me the wrong food. He didn't go through with it because, we figured out something else to do with it. But I remember I remember him calling a Wendy's once in an old lady's voice and being like, you messed up my order. I'm going to send my grandson over. And then we went, and he was like, they had food waiting for him, and he was just like, thanks,
Wow.
I appreciate you helping out my grandma, So I know what you mean, like filming yourself doing dumb.
I never did anything like that. That guy's a scumbag. No, I'm just kidding.
In some ways, yeah. Not really, I'm just joking. But yeah, that I remember losing it one time, just laughing so hard, like, why are you doing this? But I thought it was so funny.
Yeah. Well, you were, in that case, you were his Otis.
Yeah.
Along for the ride.
I was just in the back seat trying to lay down so they wouldn't see me because I was laughing so hard. And
so like, imagine,
shut up, Tim, and drove away.
Imagine from the point of view of the person who's working at this Taco Bell.
Yeah, probably
some punk kid is there,
assholes,
and then his friend is in the back just cracking up, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? So Otis is hanging out the window, like you said, and then he's looking one way, and he doesn't see the car come the other way, and it breaks the camera. They're pissed. They get angry at each other. Otis jumps out of the car.
Well, he throws it out of the car, right?
Well, he throws it out of the car, yeah. And then Henry's like, why'd you do that? We could have fixed it. He's like, you're not going to fix this.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Like, oh, you're going to know how to fix this?
Yeah.
I thought this was like, the videotape is still in there. This is going to be how they get
evidence.
caught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, somebody's going to find this video, this camera, they're going to watch this video.
Yeah.
See this horrific shit, give it to the cops, his parole officer will see it.
Yeah.
None of that shit happened.
No, that shit happened. And because we know, like, we see the video later on.
Yeah.
But, all right. So they get into a fight. Otis leaves to get a beer, or Henry kicks him out, whichever way. At night, Becky tells Henry that she is, in fact, leaving town. She's going back home to her daughter and her mom. And she offers to have Henry go back and live with her. Of course, because you've known him for a week, at most. He says he'll think about it, but in the meantime, he offers to take her out to a steak dinner because he's got a new Visa card he wants to try out. She says, you got a Visa card? He says, yeah, who do you think you're associating with?
Yeah, it's like...
I thought it was funny, right? Because nowadays, everybody has a Visa card, because at least a debit card.
And also him saying, I want to try it out, makes it clearly sound like he stole it off of someone.
Exactly what I was going to say, which we talked about earlier, like with the guitar case and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, oh, so he stole this.
Yeah.
So later, after going out to eat, they come home and see that Otis has fallen asleep. Actually, later they come home and Henry walks in first and notices that Otis has fallen asleep watching their tape. Henry takes it out of the player and puts it in his jacket pocket. Becky sees that Otis is asleep and she leads Henry to her room because he started walking away, and she grabbed him by the hand and leads him to her room and starts to undress herself and Henry as well. They start kissing. Well, she starts kissing him, but Henry is uneasy. And then in the background, we see Otis come in and ask if he's interrupting it. He says, I ain't interrupting anything, am I? You guys want a beer? And Henry says he's got to go to get some cigarettes. He needs some air. Becky protests, but he goes out anyway and he asks if they want anything. And then Otis looks at Becky and asks her to get him a beer. Same thing that he asked her earlier in the movie when he like grabbed her by the hand and attacked her. And right away I'm like, oh shit, something's gonna happen.
Yeah, and it's looking on it after watching it. It's like if she's trying to get Henry to stay, it's like, is it because she wants to be with him? Is it because she knows something's going to happen and she doesn't want to be left alone with her creepy brother? I forget.
That sucks.
Yeah, but Henry leaving, that leads to another good Henry line when he's buying his smokes.
What does he say?
When the other guy says, "How about the Bears? Fuck the Bears." It's like, why did this get put in this movie?
I think this is like the ultimate sign of a bad guy.
Yeah, right.
People in the Midwest, when it's like, fuck the Bears. It's like, oh shit. So he went to the store to get a cigarette, and he's walking back. He walks out and he sees a woman walking her dog. And he asks her, what kind of dog? She said, Heinz. He says, what? 57 varieties. He says, what? He says, it's a mutt. He's like, oh, okay. He says, what's the dog's name? It's Dolores. What? It's like,
yeah.
What are you doing? What's happening? Take the shit out of your ears.
Yeah,
Henry.
That was strange. Like, he didn't get any joke. That woman was funny. That was another, because there's not like there's not much humor in it. But Henry says something where he's like, cute dog. And she's like, oh, you hear that, Dolores? Say thank you. And I was like, man, this is great. But in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is awesome. But now this woman's going to get killed.
Right, exactly. So she walks away, and Henry starts to follow her. And you can see he's kind of hesitant. He doesn't know whether or not he has the time to do it or whatever. So she turns a corner down a dark alley. But Henry seems to walk away. But also, we don't always see when he kills everybody, like earlier with the guitar case. So he may have killed her.
I was thinking he didn't, and now you're going to make me mourn the loss of Dolores.
Yeah. But also, like...
She didn't get a name in the credits, by the way. I looked. It was like dog owner, blank, Dolores, and then whatever the dog's name is.
So even the dog got a name, but she didn't. But I was going to say, like, but in the time that he's walked back to the apartment and something's happened, it could have been 5 minutes, it could have been an hour, we don't know, so. But he walks back to the apartment, and as we hear screaming coming from the apartment, and we see Otis is raping Becky. And Henry, so we as the audience see it, but Henry doesn't see it. But I imagine he hears it, but he's taking his sweet ass time walking up those goddamn stairs.
Yeah, that was kind of strange, because there's those other times where he really is trying to defend her, or at least tell him, you shouldn't be acting that way towards your sister. But I feel like maybe I'm misremembering, but it's like he's walking up the stairs and you could hear it.
And I don't know if that's just for our audience's sake.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I don't know.
Or we're not.
Or it's just he's like, I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to say is the actress who played Becky, I heard it on the interview afterwards, or the documentary afterwards, the actress actually passed out from these scenes because she started hyperventilating.
Oh, God.
And so it happened like 2 or 3 times. And at the end of the scene, the actor who plays Otis, Tom Towles, insisted that she go to the hospital. She said she was fine. But she didn't know that she passed out. She just thought, like, she woke up and she thought she missed her line or something like that.
Oh, my God.
So it's kind of scary, but she ended up being okay. So then Henry walks in and starts beating Otis. And we're like, okay, he's going to beat the shit out of him, until Otis cracks a bottle against Henry's head. And then he grabs the gun and says, adios, motherfucker. But then Becky grabs a metal nail file.
I think it was a comb. I think it was like the end of a comb.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does she do? Stabs
him in the eye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great scene because you can obviously tell it's a fake head.
Yeah. It's just like just like a model of a head.
But she stabs the shit out of his eye, and then he starts yelling like crazy, which of course I would imagine. Henry takes the opportunity to grab that metal comb with the sharp end of it, and repeatedly stabs Otis until he dies, and then there's blood everywhere. And Henry, I don't know if you saw this, Henry advances on Becky with that with the comb, and I'm thinking, oh shit, is he gonna kill her as well? But he yells at he yells at her to stop yelling, which I don't know if that's ever helped anybody.
Yeah.
And he says he needs to think. And immediately he stands up and drags Otis to the bathroom.
I was gonna say, I don't even think it didn't even seem like he had to think. It was just
No, he's like, I need to think.
Action.
I'm up.
Yeah.
He's a man of action, right?
When he goes and brings him to the tub and starts cutting his head off. That was like, that one, the scene where the family is being tied up and the woman's being raped and kills her son in front of him was very hard to watch. And that scene, when he was cutting the head off, I was like, this just sounds so disgusting.
The squelches?
It was just like, oh, they're just turn the volume up, start cutting this guy's head off,
Yeah, like the audio, the sound engineering for this movie is amazing. It's really well done. So he, like you're saying, he basically chops off Otis's head and grabs it and puts it in the bag. Then we see Becky and Henry leaving the building with full bags, and they put them in the waiting car, and then they drive off into the night. They pull up to a bridge and drop the bags over the side into the waiting water below. And then what I was going to say is this scene is actually the next scene where they're driving down the expressway. It's actually them driving. So they're not being towed like in movie magic. They're not being towed by a trailer. Michael Rooker is actually driving the car in traffic. There's no police escort. And then they're right in front of them. There's the production car filming them. And this is where they had to go back and re-record the audio because they couldn't hear it.
Okay.
So they said that they just pulled over off the side of the expressway, so they still had the sound of the cars driving by, and then they just repeated their audio word for word. They didn't have a monitor to look at, so, but he said it perfectly synced up. He's like,
wow.
I dare you to tell me that that's whatever it's called, ADR.
ADR, yeah.
But it's just like the magic of low budget filmmaking. You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell. Could you tell? Like
no. I remember I was thinking, I wonder if this was just them, like knowing it's a low budget thing. If they just turned on the radio and this happened to be on, and I was, well, probably not.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly of me to think that. Like, I'm sure they just picked some song that they could put in it and put that on at that point. But yeah, right. She says, I love you, and he says, yeah, I kind of love you too, I guess, like in an annoyed way.
Kinda. Yeah, she says, I love you, Henry, and he says, I guess I love you too. But before that, she says she's scared, and Henry says we need to keep moving. And then he talks about his sister, that she has a ranch in California where she raises horses, and they
Arabian
horses, and they can stay there as long as they want. And then she asks, "What about Lurleen?" And he says, "We can send for Lurleen as soon as we get there." And he says, "You promise?" And he says, "I promise." This is kind of heartbreaking because you're kind of hoping for the best. But so they drive all night and they get to a seedy motel. Then we see the iconic movie poster of Henry's at the sink looking in the mirror. He's looking down. He's got his hands on. And I was thinking here, like the third time I saw it, I was like, I wonder what he's thinking here. I wonder if he's thinking if he's going to kill Becky or not.
Yeah, should I keep going with this or should I kill her?
Yeah, and I think this is where he decides that he's going to kill her. So we see Becky strumming the guitar from earlier in the movie. We see Henry kind of come into the camera view, and she has to look up at him. And right there when I saw that, I was like, oh, he's killing her.
Done
because it's a power move, right?
Yeah.
And he says, "You better go to bed now." He doesn't say, "We better go to bed now." He says, "You better go to bed."
Does he say you? Okay.
Yeah. And then Becky's face is like she's not sure if she trusts him not anymore. And can you imagine a man you just told him an hour ago that you loved him, and now you don't even know if you trust him?
I'm
with your life.
Barely know this guy. I know he's killed people, including my brother.
Yeah.
And I'm just in a random seedy hotel with him.
The next morning we see Henry, he's shaving. Then he walks out to the car with only his bag, and we don't see Becky in the passenger seat as he backs up. I was holding out hope that we were going to see her in the passenger side, or maybe like she was going to pop up.
She was already in the car,
right,
and you just couldn't see her yet.
But no, it doesn't happen. He's driving down a deserted country road, and he gets out and he pops a trunk, and he removes Becky's bag from the beginning of the movie when we saw her being picked up at Midway Airport, and there's blood and handprints on it, and he leaves it on the side of the road. We again hear screaming in the audio from when he attacked her. The camera zooms in to the luggage as Henry drives away, and the music starts, and the scene stops, and the credits roll. And then, I don't know if you caught it, but something is said here, but I couldn't make it out, but it was like distorted audio.
Okay.
And I wish it wasn't on the,
on the
captions, on the subtitles at all.
Yeah.
But it just leaves you with like this last like bit of like uneasiness, you know?
Yeah.
And then that's the movie.
So I didn't notice that was her bag from the beginning. Because
Yeah.
I even wrote it down like, how many bags does this guy have? We just threw out Otis in one or two big bags.
Right. Actually, we see it because as one of the first parts we see of, one of the first indicators we see of Otis's character is that when he picks her up from Midway and she's crying, he's like, all right, let's go. And he walks past her bag, but doesn't pick it up.
Yeah, he doesn't help her out.
And she has to pick up the bag, and it's obviously, it's almost as tall as she is, and it's heavier. So yeah, that was the bag. So that's the end of the movie. So what'd you think of it?
I did enjoy it. So it's funny saying earlier, like, how like maybe my wife would think, you always watch some freak shit. I went home last night after we watched it, and she was like, so what do you think of the movie you watched, whatever? And I was like, I don't really want to talk about it. And she was like, oh, that's sad, you know, like you usually like, so, and I was like, no, I did like it. It was just like joyless, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which sometimes stuff like that can be good. Like I mentioned Maniac earlier when I watched that. It's like, all right, I'll watch it again in 5 years or whatever, but it never doesn't leave me with like a good feeling. But there was lots of stuff I liked about it. Like I liked, like we were talking about that sound design stuff in the beginning. I thought that was really cool. I liked is a weird word, but I thought it was real effective. Like we're saying, when you're kind of shifted into where you're seeing it now, and you're the spectator. I thought, damn, that was really kind of effective to kind of transmit, like, oh wow, this is real horrible what I'm seeing here, and what does it say about me if I've been sitting here watching it this whole time, you know?
It's one of those movies, kind of like The Witch, where you know it's competently made. It's a good movie. It's well acted. I'm talking specifically about The Witch here. It's well acted. The story's good. The direction is good. Like the scenery is good, but it's not a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, it's not going to leave you feeling good or anything like that. And like I mentioned earlier, that's kind of stuff that I would watch a ton as a kid, and that I don't necessarily gravitate towards, you know, movies like Gremlins now, but like that stuff that I would watch as a kid, it would be stuff. It's like a fine line. I don't necessarily like horror comedy kind of stuff a lot, because a lot of times I think it's real cheesy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I do enjoy, like, you know, like I said, there are certain scenes in this movie, like the guy with the TV. If that was in another movie, I mean, I thought it was funny in this. In another, I'd probably think, oh god, this is like the funniest thing. But there's not a lot like that. Like the things that make me laugh the most in a movie is a woman saying, "Hey, you hear that? Say thank you." Like, it's funny, but maybe it's just funny because it's
breaking up the tension.
Yeah, it's like juxtaposed against just, you know, 2 minutes after that, you just hear him cutting someone's head off, you know.
Yeah.
But overall, I did like it. I'm glad I finally watched it. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, why didn't I watch this before, you know?
Yeah. It was weird to me that this came out, or it was made in 86 and came out like 89, 90. This doesn't feel like an 80s movie. It feels more like a 70s, not grindhouse, but like cinema verite, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, kind of
this
slow burn.
Yeah, it would have been more at home in the mid 70s as opposed to the mid 80s, and maybe if it come out 10 years earlier, it would be more of a horror classic. Like everybody would know this movie.
Yeah,
everybody would talk about it. As it is now, I don't think your average horror fan would either know about this movie or have seen it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like if this could be edited in a different way, it could have felt more 80s for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? Like more slashery, which obviously it wasn't. Didn't have those tropes, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, I'm glad I watched it. I'm trying to think the other movies that I had told you when we were trying to think of what I would watch.
I don't remember though.
There's Misery, maybe. Still haven't watched it.
What did you think of Michael Rooker?
I thought it was really good. You know, it's like
for his first movie.
Yeah, and for his performance, it's like, you know, like, it's obviously very uneasy feeling, but in some ways, it's like he plays almost like tender at times. Like he's not tender, but he almost sounds like a kid sometimes.
Reserved.
Yeah, or it's almost like, or stunted, where he's kind of talking like this, and that's why when I was thinking about his coworker driving in with him and him being in character, it's got to be like real unsettling. But yeah, his performance was great. I mean, he's real convincing. He could be really scary, obviously, when he wanted to, but it's not hammy or anything. You know, he's not just like over the top, like I'm some lunatic or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like another portrait of a portrayal of a serial killer like American Psycho,
right?
You know, by Christian Bale, was like completely over the top.
Yeah.
You know? But that's great too. I love American Psycho as well. But this is like the complete opposite.
Yeah,
of that. And it was made. Well, it was written around the same time because it was written around the 80s, right? The American Psycho book.
Psycho. I'm not sure. I think so. I know. Like.
Ellis.
Bret Easton Ellis,
yeah.
Wrote some stuff, like Lesson Zero, I know he wrote in the 80s. But
yeah, so like it's two completely different portrayals of serial killers. Both are really well done.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other serial killer movies I've watched. You know, that you get like. Well,
that's funny you should say. I got some suggestions for you.
But if you got Silence of the Lambs, right? It's like here is this guy who is, or I watched Manhunter recently with Hannibal Lecter. It's like this guy who's extremely intelligent, charismatic, and then you have Henry who's just like, he doesn't get the most basic joke, or you know, he doesn't get any kind of
no humor. He's humorless.
Any humor that people have. Yeah.
And he doesn't talk that much. Like I'm talking to you, and like I'm in my office, and like surrounded by all this Halloween memorabilia, and I'm over your shoulder is like a Michael Myers and like expressionless face, and that's what Michael Rooker was, like an expressionless face.
Yeah.
He didn't talk very much. Michael Myers doesn't talk at all, and it's like both serial killers. So you could see why it was like an effective, portrayal.
But what do you think about it? I'm trying to think how many lines does he probably even have in the movie. It's like
I think the majority of his lines is when he's having that one-on-one conversation with Becky about their childhoods.
Yeah, that and telling Otis like, you got to switch up the MO so they can't find you. Like, otherwise it's like a couple lines here and there, or a couple words each time. It's like, say that again, fuck the Bears, you know, what stuff like that.
So would you watch this movie again?
Yeah, but it would be a while probably. Okay. Not because it's like, oh God, I had nightmares like that. It's just, it's one of those things like we were talking earlier about Return of the Living Dead. That's a movie I could throw on pretty much whenever, you know, or Halloween could throw on whenever. Lots of stuff, but stuff like I said, this it made me feel like when I watched Maniac, where it's like in a couple of years I'll watch that again. You know,
what we do here is we rate the movie out of 5 upside down crosses. So, what would you give this movie out of 5 upside down crosses?
You know, you and I have spoken before about Letterboxd, and you're like, you never rate anything on there. My ratings for stuff like that, it's always, I feel so arbitrary.
It is what it is.
So for this, I think I did rate it after watching. I gave it 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, okay.
But, you know, I'm like, well, what would I change? You know, it's like, I don't know what I would change about it to make it 5 out of 5. You know what I mean? So,
I think the subject matter in and of itself limits itself to a certain amount. Because you can't, 5 out of 5, it's like you come out of that movie like,
yeah, this changed my life, or you know,
it's like, it's an experience that you loved and you want to see it again and again. I don't know.
Yeah.
It also changes from day to day. Like I'll watch a movie one day, it'll be 3.5 stars, and if I watch it 2 months, it's 4 stars, or I gave it less stars. So it just kind of.
But that's what I was thinking for this 4, which is like I really enjoyed it. I probably will watch it again at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just hearing hearing that head get cut off, that was really effective. But maybe
Yeah.
maybe
So-
that I had to dock at a point for that. Maybe an upside down cross for that.
Yeah, get it right. All right, so 4 out of 5 upside down crosses.
Yeah.
So what we do now here is I will absolve you of your horror
Oh,
movies.
thank you.
No problem. And in order to do that, I will tell you 3 movies that are similar to Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and you will need to watch those movies in order to be fully absolved. If you
Okay.
do not watch these movies, you may burn in the fiery pits of hell. I don't know. I don't deal with
You don't
that.
make the rules.
I don't make the rules. It is what it is. So the first one I would say is similar to this movie is Monster from 2003, starring Charlize Theron.
Okay. Yeah, that's also based on a true.
Yeah, also based on a true serial killer.
Did you ever watch Arrested Development?
I watched maybe 2 or 3 seasons. I didn't watch it when it came back.
I used to watch it from time to time, and I remember one time she was on the show once.
Charlize Theron.
Yes.
Oh, now it sounds like the serial killer.
Yeah, Eileen Wuornos or
Yeah.
whatever. Charlize Theron. And I don't even, that show was always just like all these self-referential jokes or whatever, but there was a thing where it said, I don't know if they said like she had plastic surgery or whatever, and it was like, they were going to show a before picture of her, and it was just the cover of Monster. I'd never seen the movie, but that made me laugh.
That's awesome. The next movie I'd recommend to you is To Catch a Killer from 1992, which is a miniseries starring Brian Dennehy as John Wayne Gacy. And I just heard of this in researching this, so I definitely want to see this.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in it, we should definitely watch it together because I really want to check this out.
He's like
because it's got like high
over the
reviews.
cloud, yeah.
It's got high reviews on IMDb. And then the last one I would say would Zodiac from 2007, starring Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
RDJ.
How much time do I have to watch these to be fully absolved?
You know what? It's whatever you feel in your heart and your soul and your spirit.
Is Zodiac David Fincher? Or
Yes.
whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Jake Gyllenhaal in that? Maybe?
I will delete this if it's not true, but I'll say yes.
Okay.
Because I haven't seen it either. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I need to. I've only seen Monster out of these 3. So.
Was it good?
It's great. Yeah.
I guess if I'm going to be absolved, you wouldn't give me some trash review or a recommendation.
All right, Tim. So let the people know where they can follow you if you want to be followed on Instagram or on social media, I should say.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I'm basically never posted on it. Never got into that.
Okay.
But on Instagram, it's private, but it's in my headache, one word. And find me on there, I guess, if you want to see a picture of a movie I watched or my son,
or the record you're playing.
Or a record or something. Yeah, that's about it. But that would be it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, one other thing I want to promote. I'm turning 40 before this comes out. So there's got a movie screening in my yard, $35.
All right, Tim. Thanks for coming on the show. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at on Twitter at MHCPod, like My Horror Confessional Pod. You can follow me on Instagram at My Horror Confessional. You can email me if you have any ideas or you just want to say hi at myhorrorconfessional@gmail.com. The music is by Taylor Fox. You can follow her on Instagram at @TheTaylorFox. And the artwork is by Captain Mikey. You can follow him on Instagram at CAPN_Mikey_art. Captain Mikey Art. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening.